Retirement presented to Amy Newman in sincere appreciation for dedication and service of 31 years of loyal service with the City of Cleveland. Best wishes, February 2025. We will miss you, and I hope that you hang this and think about it at least every other Monday.
Bill? You okay? Thank you. Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bev. And our first item on the agenda is special presentation. Mr. Fivas.
I want to have a few words for Ms. Newman.
Absolutely.
Ms. Newman.
Okay.
That, I've been doing the city manager thing for quite a few years, and I can't think of any accounting professional that was even more dedicated to their jobs than what Amy has been. You talk about someone that has the skill that a lot of people don't have, is the ability to say no and to really have a level of respect while saying that. I think that, but overall, Amy is going to be a huge gaping hole when she retires for the city. That she's really a powerhouse when it comes to everything that she does. I mean, we think we have trained up Rachel, who's going to take her position, but there's no way that you can replace 31 years of institutional knowledge. And it's just it's a loss for the city, but we're very happy for Amy to be able to go and move on with her next steps in life and do that. So we appreciate everything you've done for us. There's been some, when you're in the accounting world, there are frustrating days, and people aren't following the rules, and she's always.
You talking about me?
She's always been able to be focused on making sure that we get good, strong audits that we've had. Her, you look in and what her legacy is, I mean, we've probably had, I don't know, 10 or 15 audits in a row that have been pretty low key. So probably more than that. And it's because of Amy and her work every day that makes the auditors how to do that. And I think that that's such a loss, and we just appreciate everything she's done for us.
Thank you, Amy.
Mayor?
Absolutely. Councilman Estes.
Amy, I work at an institution, and I don't like auditors. It caused me a lot of problems. Mark Lay came, and before he came to your reception, he was singing your praises. And I mean, what could be more of a compliment than that? So seriously, kudos to you. Really, really thankful for all that you've done.
Excellent. Any other council members?
Yeah.
Councilman?
Yeah. Amy, I remember when you came to the city, and it doesn't seem like 31 years ago. And but I've enjoyed working with you, and you've always been very business when it comes to dealing with the city's business. And I've always felt like that we're in good hands when you're looking after the checks. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Amy, I just wanted to add my thanks to what's already been said about what you've done. The line of work that you've been in for 31 years is not foreign to me. I spent about 40 years in that line of work. So I know very well what you have had to deal with. And I know very well that some days have probably not been easy, but you've done a remarkable job, and on behalf of the citizens of Cleveland, I say thank you.
Any other comments? I'll close by saying, Amy, you're truly part of the spirit of our City with Spirit. And we would not be the city that we are today without your 31 years of service. So we are grateful for your service, and I'm personally grateful for your friendship and your light that you bring to every situation. So thank you. And we'll see you at 2:15 for cupcakes. Unless Mrs. Brooks is there. That does take us, if there's no other comments from the council, to our first agenda item, which is the fiscal year 2024 audit presentation. Mr. Osborne, HHM, I don't know who all wants to present, but this is nice.
Yeah, first off, Mayor, I'm going to kick us off and just say thank you to the councilman for the opportunity to serve this great city. We love the city of Cleveland. We love just being 2 blocks away from your offices here, and we've been welcomed with open arms in the City of Spirit, and this is our first year doing the engagement, so we're very excited to be serving the City Council. And so I'm going to turn it over to Brock Oliver. Brock heads up our government practice. Brock and Garrett will lead the presentation. We'll kind of keep it as high level as possible. But if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. But I just personally wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and we're so pleased to be able to serve the city.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam, and thank you all for having us here today. It certainly is a pleasure to serve the city of Cleveland and echo what Adam has stated. But today we've put together a brief presentation. I get to stand up here and take credit for all of Garrett and the team's work. Anyways, we'll start off with just a brief introduction, and if we could pull up the presentation there on the screen. So I had the pleasure to serve as the engagement partner on the engagement, and Garrett serve as the engagement manager. But just to highlight some of the things that we want to cover today in our agenda is the scope of services, so talk about what exactly our audit covers, the audit results, our required communications that we're required to under the standard, and then go into the financial highlights. So the scope of the services, this includes the annual financial statement audit for the city and its component units, and then also the single audit, which is the compliance audit over the federal awards and federal grants that the city receives. So I like to start off, we do a lot of these presentations and serve a lot of government organizations, and I think it's good to always kind of establish what is an audit, what does our audit entail. So, this is a financial statement audit to provide reasonable assurance over the financial statements that they're free from material error. And then we report on that by doing a test of transactions balances based on risk factors. So with that said, where do we spend our time, or where do we see are the risk? We spend quite a bit of time understanding the internal controls of the city. Are there proper segregation duties? Are there the right checks and balances? We spend quite a bit of time on capital assets, as those are the largest items on the balance sheet. We spend quite a bit of time on revenue recognition, so are things properly classified in the right period? And then also on grant compliance. Federal grants that the monies that the city receives from the federal government, those are heavily regulated and ever changing, and an area where we spend quite a bit of time to make sure all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But happy to present that the financial statement audit results, our audit opinion is unmodified, which that is the highest level of assurance that we can provide as auditors on the report. So the audit is clean in our opinion. There were no material weaknesses in the current year or the prior year. We had one significant deficiency noted in the current year and prior year, that was finding 24 23.001 and 23.001, which that will be referenced there in the single audit report. The single audit results, the major programs that we tested, so that would be ALN 21.027, that was the ARPA funds. Those are the COVID monies that the city received and spent in 2024. The ALN 84.027, 84.143, which is the special education cluster. The ALN 84.010, which is Title I grants to local education agencies. So again, our opinion is unmodified, which is the highest level of assurance. And then there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted in the current year or prior year. So I will turn that over to Garrett to go over required communications.
Alright, so I'll start off with the required communications and then roll into the fun stuff, all the numbers that everybody wants to hear about and look at. So overall, no changes, significant changes in accounting policies and the financials. All that's usually outlined in note 1 of the financials, so that'll look very similar to the prior. No consultations with other accountants that we were aware of during the course of our audit. We were also not aware of any fraud, so that's good. We didn't have any difficulties with management. We personally had a good time working with Rachel, Amy, Sean, and there were some others. I can't remember everybody's names, but they were real easy to work with. They got us stuff quickly, and they were open to questions, and just makes our job a little easier. So that was good. All the estimates, we are required to evaluate management's estimates during the course of our audit. We did that. The biggest ones being depreciation, and then you have pensions and OPEBs and all those balances and estimates. And then misstatements, we only had to make a couple of journal entries throughout the course of our audit, so the numbers we were working with were really clean and good, so that's something good that we like to see. Next slide. Now we get into the financial highlights. First off, we'll look at government funds. This shows your 3 major funds: general fund, school fund, capital improvement program fund, and then we consolidate all the non-major funds into one grouping. And this just kind of shows your total assets compared to the liabilities and inflows and your ending fund balance for each of these funds as of year end. Some highlights, I guess. For the general fund, we're showing $81 million as of year end. $46 million of that's cash. The $29 million of that is property taxes, which makes up the majority of those assets as of year end. And then the majority of those liabilities related to the general fund are related to the deferral of property taxes. So, and then same thing with the school fund. A lot of it is a lot of the assets are cash and property tax related, and then the liabilities are same situation. Majority of that is related to deferrals of property taxes, and then accrued payroll. And going to the next slide. This is now looking at the same major funds and non-major funds together. We're looking at the revenues, expenditures, and changes in the fund balances as of the fiscal year end. So one thing to note is everything was fairly in line with prior year. Something I noted, non-major funds, biggest difference on those was related to 2 new funds during the fiscal year. We had the hotel motel tax, which is related to the accounting of the revenues and expenses related to the new tax. And then CPD grant fund was a new fund, which is related to the use of those grants during the fiscal year. And that is a high-level look at the funds and the changes during the fiscal year. Next slide, we look at the proprietary funds balance sheet or statement of net position during the fiscal year. We have the stormwater management fund, and then we also have the internal service fund. The internal service fund for the city of Cleveland is the health insurance trust fund, which is just set up to track the employee medical benefits and the payments related to that during the fiscal year. And then you have the stormwater management fund. Most of those assets for that fund is cash, capital assets, and then your liabilities are mainly made up of deferred inflows related to OPEB and pension plans.
Are all OPEBs Cleveland Utilities?
Or
The change in pensions, is that only in Cleveland Utilities, or is that?
no, it's City of Cleveland, Cleveland schools. So it's encompassing. Oh well, for that slide in particular, that is just stormwater management.
Okay.
Yes.
So, OPEBs and stormwater only?
Yes, for that slide. You also have governmental funds, which will have the pension OPEB plans related to schools and the city itself and all the other funds.
While I've interrupted, I got a question that has a lot of some bearing on this. Sean, any reason why our sales tax was down $4 million this year? That seems like, that's seen on page 10, Cleveland's second largest revenue source is sales tax, and it decreased $4 million. I'd have to look at that. That doesn't sound right.
I'd have to look at that as well. Oh,
So,
there's a lot of numbers that go into any one of those lines
just
on
in
the
the intro
fund.
part,
Oh, and yeah, I would have to look into the details that go into that sales tax number and what all led to the change, I guess.
because it's gone up every year since '09, for minimum of 4%. So that's a strange
Yeah,
number.
that is something for sure we can
Okay.
get you a more detailed response on. But it's,
Sorry.
no, you're fine. Yeah.
Because I was concerned also about with Cleveland Utilities going to a different retirement plan, how that affects us. And this is like Cleveland Utilities and us lumped together in some areas and not in others, so I'm just trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, Cleveland Utilities is now not in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Standalone.
Yeah, so it's the first time in a long time, we kind of looked at some of these numbers
Right.
different. So
Makes it look a little different though.
it does, and different auditors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see if it was. Okay. I can't remember. Yes, that's my mom. Back on track. So this slide is looking at the budgetary highlights for the general fund. Since the general fund is the main operating fund of the city, kind of like take a step back and look at how that fund particularly did when looking at final budget numbers and actual numbers as of the fiscal year end. One thing we do like to note on this is that actual revenues over final budgeted were higher, which is good. A positive variance of $7 million. So revenues came in higher than what was anticipated for the general fund. Then you have the expenditures and broken out by departments. Another good thing to note is that actual expenditures of $43 million came in under budget, under the final budget by $2.8 million. So it shows the departments are good about maintaining those budgets and sticking to those budgets. And it just helps to lead to an overall positive change in fund balance during the fiscal year, which is noted at the bottom of positive change of $8.5 million for the general fund. And that's the last slide. Again, we're looking at the general fund. We like to look at the ending fund balance, $50 million, and compare that to total expenditures for the general fund, which is roughly $58 million. We like to see if you didn't have any more monies coming in, how long could you get by with the funds you have available? Just based off this, the fund balance would get you roughly 10 months of operation. So that is a strong fund balance. It's good to have. You never know with disasters and changes in the economies. We like to see that cities and local governments have that fund balance above the recommended range and in a good place. So
Do you have any way to peg that to bond rating?
don't know about that.
Okay. We're about to borrow money, how they rate us is our fund balance. I mean, I know that's one of the inputs.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it would impact the bond ratings off the top of my head.
Sean?
The higher Fed, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
The thing that's hurting that's keeping our bond ratings suppressed a little bit is per capita income of city residents.
Okay.
As far as our balance sheet, revenue generation, all that, we check up much higher. But the per capita average income of city residents keeps us pulled down a little bit.
I know we have a debt policy, and we have a fund balance in there, a goal of 25%. So I'm assuming all of our fund balances are above 25%, right?
In debt, yeah.
You know, all our debt service, okay. Sorry, in-house.
No, yeah. And then any questions?
Any questions for our friends in this year's audit?
Can I come meet with you sometime?
Yeah,
All right.
we'd love to have.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council?
I have one for staff. Sean, if we're at plus 8.5 this year, million, where are we gonna put it? All the fund balance?
All that's going to fund balance. No, your fund balance today is not $50 million. Your fund balance today is below that.
Does that 8.5 give us any margin on projects coming up if this council were to take action? None? I've been on the no side forever, but we've got a lot of projects sitting in front of us. Schools are here, everybody else. I've never heard us be at a plus 8.5 ever. And that's great. I mean, that's great on the,
But, 10 years ago, we were saying that.
trying to hit zero. Oh. No, I remember.
I remember when we couldn't pay our bill.
Well, we did. But once we can talk later. I don't mean to keep going, sorry.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much. I'm grateful for the audit and thankful for your hard work and look forward to many more years to come.
All right. Thank y'all for your time.
Thanks very much. All right, that was the only requested presentation, but it's now time for public comments. Is there anyone? Adam? Oh, that's your, sorry.
Come on up.
Paddle raise. Anyone seeking to have comments for the council? If you'll raise your hand. I noticed that our friends from Congressman Fleischman's office are here. Garrett, thank you for being here and representing us in Washington with our friend the congressman. And seeing none, we will go on to the city manager's report. Mr. Fivas, I understand you had a great presentation today at Main Street. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I had the little thing, my little jump drive in my hand, and I told the vice mayor that I'm going to come and give that to the city council because some of them missed out on the presentation, and he said, "Do not do that." But we'll come back, and it was a good presentation, and we'll share that with you. It's kind of talking about the third phase of our downtown redevelopment, and we'll share that with the council and as we go through our budget process. Couple things. So I just say 45 minutes of your lives.
And we appreciate that.
I know. I can hear all the deep sighs and relief. Probably the most important thing that we'll go through today is that, and I emailed the council on this, is that on Wednesday night, TDOT will be closing down Paul Huff to do road work at night. So in the evenings, that you will not be able to travel on that. There will be a, on Candy Creek Ridge Road, there'll be a detour available. They're doing some heavy paving at that intersection. And if they can go and get everything done at night, that would be ideal. If they don't get it done at night, they will continue with that on Thursday. They'll just continue the work. So on Thursday is when there will be a big problem if they don't get through everything that they want to. So when we're in close communication with them, and we will certainly notify the media and whoever else needs to be notified as we get information.
Joe, will Highway 60 remain open during that?
Yes.
Joe, when they tie into the new construction on 60, will that be a done deal out? Or will they still have to work it back into that road? We don't know.
I'm not sure. David, you know the answer to that question?
I don't think anything's gonna be permanent for right now, they're just trying to take the big dip out.
They won't take the dip out?
Yes.
Good, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's bad.
They can put on the city page, the closing.
Okay.
Can y'all put that on the city page, this City of Cleveland's page that we can share?
Yeah, we will. We wanted to get closer to Wednesday before we notified anyone, but we'll do that before we leave today and start letting people know that that's an issue. You know, the variability in temperatures when you're doing that, and just wanted to make sure that before we started talking about it, that it was coming to fruition, and I think we're pretty sure that that's what's going to happen. We have want to say a couple really important thank yous is to our auditors left. It must be tax season, right? But I can't say enough for the work that Rachel and Amy and Sean did to make sure that you have an audit and a budget, sound budgeting practices. It is not easy with the amount of projects, with the number of ins and outs that we have, to keep everything square, and they just deserve a bunch of credit. Also involved in the credit are our budget officers, and our department directors, is they're also central in making sure that there's good communications going back and forth. Is it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Sometimes it's messy and we get through it, and you know, we see something that we haven't seen before, but we work through those things. And I just think that you know, for the local government finance awards that we've won for 30 years in a row, for our audits, for how we do our business, how we've done, completely changed over our entire finance system over the last couple years, which has been a huge project that they deserve a lot of credit for going home and probably having sleepless nights on trying to fix certain things. So we appreciate that for them, and they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for shepherding that through today. Couple project updates. Right now, as we're aware that we're working on the Inman, or the Peerless and Paul Huff intersection project. That's going along. We hope to be able to get that finished. And, you'll finish with one side of the road, and then we'll go to the public side and we'll finish that off. The pavers look like they'll be here in late April or early May to get all of, Paul Huff has really started to even deteriorate even more just in the last 6 months. And it can't get here any faster to be able to do that. When they do Paul Huff, will they do milling, David?
Yes.
So they will do a lot of milling on Paul Huff, which will help with getting all of that broken stuff done and out of there. So it'll probably be a solid paved job that hopefully will last us for another 20 years or so. We keep chugging away at Jim Sharp Park. If you haven't been there, there's a lot of action going on over there and getting that ready. It's a lot larger piece of property than what I had imagined it would be, and we'll bring some pictures probably in the next couple council meetings to show you kind of what's happening there. You have some really great work going on over at on Central Avenue and Gott Street. It's just see sidewalks going in and
Retaining wall. And a great retaining wall,
a big retaining wall. Who knew?
but it looks great.
And I think it'll bring some infrastructure that's been desperately needed on that street, connecting people into downtown and into the neighborhoods. So that project is going along. We think the next large project they continue to work on Tinsley Park. That is a little bit slower go than what we had hoped, but they're still working. They won't be able to pave those courts until late spring, until you get the right temperatures, and hopefully we can start working on the parking lot and getting everything wrapped up there. You will notice that there's a lot of changes going out there. If you have any questions, let us know about that. We have a bunch of smaller other projects that are going on that I don't necessarily need to go through, but I think that the stuff looking into the future that we have coming up is trying to they'll be taking down the traffic or the utility lines on Church Street coming up. So you'll see some streetscape along there that you have lines on both sides of the street. CU's been good to work with on that, and we will start seeing some of that work go on, and that will probably result in having to redo a lot of the sidewalk on both sides, which is pretty beat up on that. So any questions with any other projects that are out there on our list, or any other things that you may want to talk about?
Let's talk about Mouse Creek, Joe. I just heard from several constituents this weekend over when's something going to start happening out that way, as far as widening the road.
Well, I think that would be a conversation we should have during our budget process. What we've talked about is piping the road and being able to do that. My guess is that it wouldn't probably happen until after we get done with Tinsley, and then we can start working on segments out there. You know, I think it's a priority. We've heard that for a while. And we would, that's probably the best estimate I could give.
Mr. Fivas, if I could have a follow-up on that, I know it's going to be a big lift. Mouse Creek is just, it's in bad shape, and it's been in bad shape for 50 years since it was a farm road, a county road. The city has grown to that direction, but could I know we have an MPO meeting Wednesday. Is Mouse Creek, I know Michigan Avenue Menace is on the MPO radar. Is Mouse Creek also, or can we add it?
Yes.
It's on our list for the MPO paving roads. I mean,
Great.
it's on there, and Robert can shepherd it through.
Part of the paving inventory, and then the plan would be to do some widening
And straightening.
local.
I mean, some of those curves are just crazy. As a grandparent who has grandkids that live out there. Great.
For whatever reason, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
heard.
Well, I think as the weather gets warmer and the soccer complex,
There you go.
I mean, you've got thousands of families every weekend visiting that complex, and really the only way to get there is a pretty curvy ditches on both sides. So,
Randy Lonis, Blue called me. He lives right there in that
Yeah.
curve.
yeah.
He's just like, is anything gonna happen?
I'm thrilled to hear about the piping because I think that's going to be the immediate visual change.
Well, I mean, if you get 2 more feet of asphalt on each side of the road, the curves are much less
They're bearable.
Yeah.
dangerous and
Agreed.
all that. I mean, because I think before I got here, they had done a study with TDOT, and what was that number, Jonathan?
50 million then.
It was $50 million to go the state route, which is there, and I think our process will deliver probably it'll deliver a safe road, a safer road at probably a fraction of the cost.
I know that Eureka is State Road 306. Is Mouse Creek a state road as well?
I don't believe that it is.
Okay.
At one time, we had talked about adding some left turn lanes on Mouse Creek.
Yeah, that's part of our plan. Yeah, there's a series of 3 of them that go through there.
I know that the left turn lane that was added near Logan because of some of those smaller subdivisions was very, very helpful. So I know that that will be a great improvement. Any other comments about projects? I've driven around the Gaunt and Central area and had a large event a couple of weeks ago at College Hill. It was very well attended, so I got a great chance to drive around, and it's just great to see the progress on that. We've been waiting for that I remember Councilman Estes asking for that years ago, and it's great to see all that happening. Good work.
That's good.
Joe, the park in the 4th district, how's it coming?
It's on the list. It's certainly something that we've talked about internally, and we haven't landed on exactly the best location. You know, there's Weeks Drive and there's some other locations. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any other comments, questions, or inquiries for Mr. Fivas? Did we do the tax incremental financing?
I'm gonna wait until the next meeting.
Okay. Great. That takes us right to the review of our agenda, which is before us now.
At 3 o'clock, we have mayoral appointments to the Planning Commission. Then at item 6B, we'll have a public hearing to hear the comments on the Basan Issa consideration for a zoning ordinance on APD 40 from heavy industrial zoning to HUD 60. The consent agenda, we will have 7A. These are items that the council has already approved unanimously. You have final passage of zoning ordinance 2504 concerning a request by Dennis Botts for consideration of an ordinance to zone .29 acres located at Johnson Boulevard to R2. You have 7B is zoning ordinance 2505 concerning a request by the Eldridges and O'Neills for consideration of zoning of 22 acres on FRA and RA to PUD 62. Final item 7C, final passage zoning ordinance 2506 concerning a request by Brett Howell for the zoning 9.8 acres located on Michigan Avenue from heavy industrial to PUD 61. Then you have 6D is final passage concerning a request by Maverick Development for consideration of zoning amendment PUD 40 to include a second access point onto Sequoia Road. You have item 7E, passage of zoning ordinance 2509 concerning a request by Gary Waters for consideration of amending PUD 58 to the development of apartment complexes to 228 units. I think with that item, have we heard anything, Robert?
They're planning to be here, they're good to go.
Okay, so before we approve that one, Cleveland Utilities has been working with them on sewer, that before we actually probably take that vote, we should probably hear from them.
I mean, I think they're good, but,
I think they're-
today.
We will, there's a possibility that this will be taken off and put it on the business agenda, and we'll let you know as we get closer to 3 o'clock. We don't think there's anything, this is the group that came and talked to us at the last meeting. And they're just trying to, I think Cleveland Utilities and them have a meeting of the minds as far as hopefully on how to proceed, and we just need to confirm that. Item 7F, Resolution 2516, approval of an agreement with Bartlett Tree Experts for tree care at Johnston Park. There are several of those big oak trees and certainly the elm trees that need treatments to make sure they continue to be healthy. You can't really get equipment up to some of those to be able to do what's needed. This company has expertise in doing that, so they're going to spend a lot of time on getting those trees in the best condition possible. Item 7G is surplus, and this is really an extension of the project, the Johnson Park project. Item 7G is surplus property. There's a couple old cars and a couple pieces of equipment that are going to be sold on Gov Deals. We have item 7H, submit a letter of intent for the Project Diabetes Grant. We've received this before. This is actually the grant that we did the walking path from Blythe Bower down Chippewa, and it was actually a very good project for us. And item I is the travel reimbursement update of updating those figures for the General Service Administration to the current. Then you have item 10, the zoning ordinance 2507, which is the public hearing for Bassam Issa from IH to PUD 60. And that's all I have for the agenda.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Fivas, for that review of the 3 o'clock agenda. Takes us to reports from council members. We'll begin today with Councilwoman McKenzie. Thank you. Councilman Estes?
3 o'clock.
Thank you. Councilman Cassidy is not with us today. Councilman May?
3 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Councilman Goff?
I'd just like to see, I don't know if you had time to check yet, but when we get these agendas, I mentioned that the the maps are really grainy. You scroll in, you just can't read the roads. And is there, how do we go about having the uploads that are more high res? Christie was kind enough to send me.
Yeah, we
more
discussed that
thoughts.
this morning, and she's gonna work with IT to see if there's a better high-resolution offer, but it's certainly something that we looked at. I mean, the equipment we have is probably pretty good for the scanning standpoint, and we'll have to figure out what is that, you know, you have the scanning, and then you have the copying. Maybe it's an issue with the copier. We'll have to look and see what's the best option available. Because at some point, we go into the agenda, everything will be digital. That what we're working towards is having a digital, instead of the scanning file type thing, is that the original document will be available on the agenda. So that would probably give better resolution to be able to use the different options on the computer. But those are the things we're working on.
Okay, that'd be great, because what Christie sent separately was fantastic, but in the agenda format, I don't know if it's the software or whatever, it's just really hard to read and zoom in, but thank you.
We just appreciate you reading the agenda.
Anything further, Councilman?
Nothing.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Webb.
No, sir.
Councilman Moore.
Yeah, just 100% out of curiosity and not having an answer to give someone, what determines whether this meeting's broadcast or not? Is that a CLE question? Is that a us question?
They do it as a service to the community.
Okay.
When we move to our new building, that we will have a full camera system that every meeting will be, have the capability of being live streamed.
Okay.
Great.
I don't think you want to bring them up.
Okay.
I can comment this. It just comes down to personnel availability and availability.
That's pretty much what I figured, but I didn't have an actual answer. It's just sometimes they're broadcast, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, we try to.
I know, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Moore. That takes us to announcements for the 1 o'clock session, of which there is none. I'm sorry, I would like to announce that there is a drop-in reception this afternoon for the amazing Amy Newman from 2:15 to 3 o'clock. So it looks like we are adjourning just in time
Oh, yeah.
to have a celebration for Amy. And if there's no other